Okay, guys, come on, let's get this shit loaded in the truck. We gotta go.
Not so fast, evildoer.
The fuck is that?
I, Mrs. Joke, am here to stop you.
Yeah. And what the hell can you do, lady?
Okay, you asked for this, buddy. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Peanut butter.
How the fuck did this happen? Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, here to review My Hero Academia Chapter 106, titled Class 1A. It's probably going to be about Class 1A, I would assume. I would actually like to see, more of Class 1B, because they seemed interesting. I don't know, that guy that had the steel quirk and the other guy that could weld things. I mean, it'd be neat if, every now and then we can get, a side chapter just to see what's going on with Class 1B. Alright, so the chapter starts off with, oh, good lord, Ida, Jesus Christ. I know you're, shouting stuff at the reader, because that's how you do it. You're very enthusiastic at your job, but you're just frozen with your mouth open like that, ah! 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 Okay, that's enough of that. Alright, so we start off with a popularity poll. Awesome! We never did those in Bleach. I mean, well, they did, but not during my time. But that's pretty cool. So we have All Might there announcing, yeah, we're doing the second popularity poll. It's been in serialization now for 2 years. But don't worry, because All Might is there reassuring us that we will keep on doing the same things we did in the previous years. Ochaku then chimes in with mochi pounding. Am I supposed to know what that is? Because I don't know what mochi... I know what mochi is, but mochi pounding, I don't know. I'm gonna look into that, but Ochaku, you might be able to pound my mochi. I'd be cool with that, probably. I hope. But then you get Bakugo, who's of course interested in just more massacres. Oh yeah! There's gonna be 10 times as much blood as the last 2 years. Woo! You gotta love Bakugo. You really do, because Bakugo is a teenage kid that just goes on and on about how much he wants to kill things, and he's just this bloodthirsty son of a bitch. And in our modern society, we would look at that and just be like, alright, this kid has some serious problems. He needs to be put on medication, he needs to see a psychiatrist, get him some anger management classes, something. But not only does he have this in the My Hero Academia universe, but now he also has the ability to blow shit up. Whatever he touches, he can just blow it up. And he has these bloodthirsty kind of tendencies, and everybody, including his own parents, are just kind of ruffling his hair, you silly scamp, you going around saying you want to kill people and you completely have the abilities to do that. You could blow up a building if you fucking wanted to. In fact, you did. Yeah, you're just a crazy little kid. We have Mineta, who's just interested in sticking my face in women's butts. Hey, whoa. Are you fucking with us here? You don't be fucking with me. You do not do that to me. I mean, I have been reading this series since the beginning, and I have not seen your face in a single butt. Where is your face, and where are these so-called butts? I would like to see some hardcore butt-face evidence here, young man. In fact, I have an interesting concept for a side story. Fuck the Class 1B crap. You know what? The exact same story, except instead of Izuku being the main character, it's like the exact same story from Mineta's perspective. And the funny thing about that is the entire story just turns into a straight-up hentai. I'd be fine with that. Alright, so we get a breathtaking, kick-ass cover page where everybody is just, in honor of the popularity poll. Everyone's wearing their dress uniforms, of course. We gotta go with that. But it looks pretty cool, and hopefully we're charging into a very long remaining serialization, and this shit doesn't get canceled within a year or some shit. That would kind of suck. Alright, so moving on to the actual chapter, we cut over to Mera. Mera's the guy that runs the Public Safety Commission. That's actually, organizing this whole thing. We saw a few chapters ago. Public Safety Commission employee Mera. His quirk, deadbeat. He could stop his heart for 5 seconds, becoming legally dead. There we go. But anyway, he's just giving us a brief overview that the applicants are passing at a much more faster rate now. Remember, we only have 100 people that can pass this exam, and we're already up to 53. Now remember, Inaasa from the Shiketsu High, he was the first one to pass. The dude with the crazy-ass costume and that loves to bleed and, was very energetic and had the wind-based quirk. It was around there. He was the first one to pass, and he knocked out all those applicants. But ever since then, it's been, steadily increasing. So time is running out very shortly for everybody to get their shit together. And of course, not everybody from Class 1A is going to pass. But we do get to see the first person from Class 1A to pass, and unremarkably, it is in fact Todoroki. He uses both his fire and his ice half abilities to both freeze and burn his opponents at the same time. Not really sure how that's possible, but Todoroki's awesome, so he pulled it off. He also mentions, though, that he's not quite used to using both of his sides at the same time. It's obvious. It's kind of like Bakugo. Whenever he uses his explosive power from both hands, the, impact of the explosion is mitigated. I would assume it's the same thing with Todoroki, even if he gets a good, skill. Because whenever he uses just one side 100%, it's like a massive ice wave or a massive, fireball. But using it at the same time, hey, in close quarters combat, in, an immediate, your surroundings, it'd be very versatile and very handy. It's just you're not going to be able to use those large-scale attacks that you can use with just one side of your abilities. But yeah, Todoroki's always ranked up there to me as one of the most OP characters in this entire series. Not just because he was trained, Endeavor's his dad and everything, but just the idea of having not just fire, but also ice abilities is just oh, damn, you're really dipping into the shonen battle bucket there. But, yeah, it's pretty crazy. But, yeah, he manages to win, and, he's going to the room. Basically what happens is the transmitters, the targets on their bodies act like transmitters, and they're really high tech, and he goes on to explain that they're not as simple as just little cheap, plastic targets that you buy at the dollar store. These things are basically stuck to your uniform. They can't be taken off except without a magnetic key. This will come into play this will be important later. And they also work as receivers for so they can announce anybody that's passed, please proceed very quickly to this waiting room so you don't get killed in the meantime. So with that being said, Todoroki heads over to an anteroom where all the applicants that have passed are just basically waiting. Inuyasha from Shiketsu is there with his really bulky M. Bison freaking nonsense costume. At least, I have a theory about this. Okay? If we're going with the logic that his quirk is wind or air-based, where he could just freely manipulate the wind and he's just really skilled at using it, then this quirk that's all bulky and everything, it might be, rather difficult to move around in, but if his quirk is the air, it might not matter, because all these pipes and shit are jutting out. If he control the wind currents basically become his arms and legs. So he could just stand in one place and just use his quirk to channel the wind through these pipes and shit on his outfit, and he could just maneuver him that way. And then he has just the one arm that has no armor on it that he could just, freely manipulate. So that's the best way I can go about it, because otherwise this costume is absurd. Even in, manga standards, this is freaking crazy. Anyway, he's all excitable. He's talking to another student about just some random hero he's interested in. Whenever he sees Todoroki sit down, he strikes the death glare. He's just oh, I'm gonna murder this son of a bitch. That's that's like a Bakugo level glare you're getting up there. And I want to say, there's sort of maybe a connection between these two, not an actual connection they know each other, but the reason, we know Inuyasha scored the highest on the UA entrance exam, and so he's even more skilled than Todoroki, and so perhaps maybe the reason he didn't want to join UA, because that's still up in the air, is because Todoroki goes there. Perhaps maybe not so much, maybe it's sort of maybe his dad has some past with Endeavor, or he has a grudge against Todoroki's family, or something like that. It's probably not a direct hate on Todoroki himself, because we don't really know, he hasn't really done anything to really piss Inuyasha off, but it's something going on here, and these two are gonna fight. These two are gonna go into a big-ass fucking battle. It's gonna be crazy, and if it is truly a wind-based quirk, I'd like to see how that would work, because following Naruto logic, wind only makes fire hotter and more expansive, so I want to see how this is going to go down. But anyway, we cut away from the waiting room, we cut over to see what Izuku is doing. Remember last chapter, we had a fake Ochako show up, and it was really Shiketsu, a diet as Death Girl, who began to melt, all the gunk came off of her, and yeah, she's basically naked. No, basically about it, she is in fact naked, as naked as you can be in a shonen, of course. But yeah, the gunk just slides off of her. She goes back to her regular appearance, and she's replying to what Deku said earlier. He caught her even though he knew it wasn't Ochako, just because, well, if you're not Ochako, then you would have gotten hurt, and so I had to save you anyway. And she's just basically oh, this is the lengths you'll go, huh? And then she just attacks him straight up, but she doesn't have any weapons on her, because once again, she is naked. Even her cap is gone, so she just resorts to scratching his face, and Deku's just trying to figure out what the fuck is up with this girl. Seriously, what's her quirk, number one? What happened to her outfit? How could she copy Ochako? And now she's just, like, scratching me. You know, before she was all about, like, kicks and shit. So, like, what's up with her? Anyway, she attacks again, to which she is then stopped by the impervious barrier of masking tape. So yeah, Sero's here. So you know shit is gonna get mediocre when Sero's in the house. Yeah, so he uses his quirk to shoot the tape and kind of, separate Shiketsu girl from Deku, to which Ochako then shows up and in this awesome panel does this really sweet, like, zero-gravity, like, kick where she's doing this handstand. It's fucking cool, man. I want to question one thing about Sero really quick. Oh, that is hot. Okay, I was gonna go on a spiel that was gonna last about 5 minutes, and it was gonna lead nowhere about if Sero has to go to, like, the, local dollar store to reload tape in his dispensers, but I'm just gonna move on beyond that because this girl is, like, striking erotic poses now. I don't think anybody's going to blame me for such a call. Anyway, she ends up doing the typical villain thing. You know how this goes. I think you've seen this before a lot in manga where, it's one-on-one, and then, like, a bunch of people show up on the hero's side, and then the villain is just like, I'd like to stay around and chat, but this has begotten so troublesome. We will meet again! And then you leave. So that's basically what she's doing. But before she does, she brings up to Ochako. She directly references her. Like, you are very well trusted, aren't you? So, I don't know. I don't know with this. Now, we're going to get to this later in the chapter because Kaminari shows up and we're going to get back into this discussion of who is the traitor amongst the UA faculty or the student body, which, by the way, in case you're curious, I am most certain it's going to be a student, and it's going to be a student that we're well, at least we know in Class 1A. It's not going to be some random person. My money's right now on Kaminari, as I think the popular opinion is, but I don't know if we're setting up Kaminari as, like, a red herring or something, because if it turned out to be Ochako, I mean, I could see that working. I mean, I'm just gonna put that on the side for now, on the back burner. We'll get back into it, but it would be really wicked if she was. Okay. But after, questioning Ochako's trustworthiness, Shiketsu girl just bolts off. Also, by the way, how did Shiketsu girl, like, copy Ochako? Because most of the time with, like, a copy or, like, a replication cloning type ability, you at least have to come in contact with the person you're copying, right? Like, that would just make sense. Like, I'm not necessarily saying you have to, but, in order to copy somebody, you actually have to, like, see them and their outfit and, like, touch them or do something. So I was wondering how that went down. But anyway, she bolts off, and then Deku's like, wait, no, don't go after her! She's a pervert, after all! Yes, Deku, make sure not to follow the naked perverted lady, because then, you might actually have a chance to get laid or something. You don't want that, buddy, you don't want that! You're a high school student, damn it! Okay, so interesting factoid that Todoroki brought up earlier in the chapter. He brought up how, you can't just take off the targets. They have to have, like, a magnetic key. And Shiketsu girl, managed to dissolve all of her clothes. So I'm starting to wonder, like, were her clothes even clothes to begin with, or were they just, like, manufactured by her quirk? Or when she turned into Ochako, did she just take off her clothes and then activate her quirk? Because, I don't know, but I think, I like to think of it more like she was just naked the whole time, and her quirk is just being able to create, like, a shell around her, and she can make that shell into whatever she wants. She can make it into, like, just regular clothing, or she can copy whole other, human beings, basically, as was the case with Ochako there. Okay, so now that they've gotten a little bit of free time, they can now kind of brainstorm to figure out what to do next. Is exactly now that Deku's there, he's kind of like the brains of the group. You have Sero, and Ochako, who is, whatever, but Deku's pretty better at coming up with plans here. While he's doing this, though, like, a bunch of villains are approaching them. Well, I guess not villains, but in the context of this exam, there might as well be villains. They're approaching them, and Deku comes up with a plan, like, alright, we gotta stay together, but also it would be a lot easier instead of just trying to, like, throw our balls at the opposing team, because there's, like, a limited number of balls and everything. What would be rather easier instead, not even worrying about the targets. Don't worry about the targets, and instead focus on immobilizing, and restraining your opponent first, and then, as with this clever little diagram, just then activate the targets by touching the balls, because you have a limited number of balls, and if you throw at them and you miss, you're kind of screwed, you know what I mean? With that being said, they come to realize that they are being surrounded by other students. They decide to get ready. Deku decides to play the decoy as they try to figure out a battle plan, and as they're getting ready to go and do this, Ochako is just kind of looking at Deku's back and thinking, oh, I believe in you, Deku, you know, just based on your track record, I think I can trust you. And they all enter battle stances and they get ready to go. Sero's actually looking pretty damn cool there, but he's still Sero, so you know what are you gonna do? Alright, so we cut over to another section of the battlefield. This one hasn't been destroyed by the earthquake, where we see Kaminari there hanging out, ready to ball his eyes out, and we see Bakugo there as well, and Kaminari just basically followed them because, you know, it's just like he didn't want to be left alone, essentially. They're fighting against another guy from Shiketsu High, which is pretty much going to be, like, I was expecting more skulls to be present here in the provisional license exam arc, but I guess it's better that we only have, like, one or two main enemies. We have Shiketsu, and then we have, I forget what the other school is called. It starts with a K. It's the one that Mrs. Joke, Eraserhead's friend, is the leader of, where Shindao is from, the earthquake dude. I forget the school's name, but it's pretty much just going to be, I guess, those two main schools, mostly Shiketsu. That's going to be the main opponents, the strongest ones you need to take out there on level equal to that of UA. So, Bakugo is just basically shouting, you know, get lost, you dumb shit, Kaminari, I don't want you here, or whatever. And then we get to see over the Shiketsu dude, who's also named we don't know yet, and he holds up what is left of Kirishima. And I warn you, this is going to, like, Cronenberg level, like, sci-fi Cthulhu shit right here. Oh my god! What the fuck quirk are you using? What is this? Seriously, this is messed up! This is like... I don't even know where to explain this. Like, I thought this was like a fun story. You know, like, the quirks were, like, interesting and diverse, but none of them were freaking, like, R-rated crap. Holy crap. Like, can you imagine if this exam is televised and, like, Kirishima's mom and dad are, like, watching this right now? They'd be wanting to freaking commit suicide at seeing their son like this. Jesus Christ! I mean, it's probably going to be easily reversible, but... I wonder if he's still conscious right now. That would be torture. Even if he came back from this, he would be like, just the darkness, and my foot was where my penis was, and my eyes were in my butthole. Just, oh good lord, it was all so horrible. And then he just gets admitted to a psychiatric ward somewhere in Mount Massive, Colorado, and spends out the rest of his days fucking with people with video cameras. That's messed up. That's messed up. I have no idea where to even go from this. But this Shiketsu dude, apparently Kirishima's not the only victim here. There's like a bunch of people that are left mangled Cronenbergian messes in his wake. And he just states, this is a demonstration as individuals who have cultivated their sense of duty and dignity long before they even began school. Dude, I don't, you need to be a villain. Like, you need to be just a straight up villain. Like, there's, you know, they're like, remember Shinso? He had the brainwashing quirk that everyone thought, like, oh man, you should be a villain. No, you can make that into a superhero quirk. You can make that work, but this shit, this freaking Dr. Frankenstein messed up shit right here, this stuff is villain material. You need to go. You need to put down your school uniform and go join up with Tomura. I mean, he would welcome you wholesale. I mean, this would be perfect for you. It really would. Alright, well, anyway, Bakugo is not so intimidated by this horrible, you know, mad scientist display. He just, you know, strikes the grin like, I hate his type. And then he, you know, makes fun of his eyes, which are very kind of narrow. Hey, stereotypes there, Bakugo. I mean, I guess you guys are technically all Asian, but, you know. This guy seems to have a bit of a complex about this. He freaks out by the fact that they made fun of his eyes. He puts his hands behind his back, which, like, summon a bunch of, like, gooey little fingers around him. And I guess that's how he activates his quirk or whatever. Apparently he's done this before. This is how he turned Kirishima. I guess whatever comes in contact with this goop turns into that weird, contorted mess. And so Bakugo shouts at Kaminari, like, okay, get ready, where this is happening. And, you know, he attacks him with the fingers, and then that's it. So I don't know. I don't know. I think Kaminari is probably going to get turned into, like, a bubbling mess. But aside from that, I have no idea. I have no idea where this fight's even going to go, really. Like I said, I'm assuming, like, after he's defeated, they're all going to turn back into normal people. But, That's a messed up quirk if I ever saw one, right? Anyway, though, so we cut back over to the stands of the stadium where we see Mrs. Joke messing on Eraserhead, you know, like, hey, you want a piece of gum? And of course, Eraserhead's like, really? Really? Your quirk is to make people laugh. Your whole motive is practical jokes, and you're asking me to take a piece of gum willingly from you. No, I'd say no. I'd say no. Even if I erased your quirk first, no, not gonna happen. But the point of the matter here, and what Eraserhead explains to Mrs. Joke, is basically that there's two people in particular in his class that he has like a particular eye on. Not just him, but like the entire class. Like, they're very integral. The class simply would not function the same way without these two people. And he says, like, they're not the people that like bring the class together. They're not like that or anything. And they're not by far like the strongest in the class or the most talented, but more so it's because these two are such intense rivals and they always push each other to the next level that it kind of inspires all the other class members of 1A to push themselves harder as well. And of course, those two students he was talking about are of course Izuku and Bakugo. And then, of course, you cut to the last scene of the chapter where you see Izuku using full cow to, like, deal with the opponents that were attacking him earlier, and then Bakugo just, boom, just blasts away creepy finger Cronenberg guy. But anyway, next chapter, you know, I'm gonna say that we're so... But yeah, next chapter, really quick, because my SD card's almost full on this thing, I just want to say that I think we're, for more or less, done with Izuku's side of it. Because I really think that with their plan and with Sero's ability with his tape powers, I don't think it'll be that difficult to implement Deku's plan, considering these are just, like, normal, run-of-the-mill, you know, opponents. They're just gonna attack, use Sero's tape, bind them up, and then just touch their balls on their targets, and that's how they're gonna pass the exam. Of course, I always expected Izuku was gonna pass the exam. I really want to see what's up with Bakugo. Can we, I want to put a hold on everything involving Deku or anybody else. I want to see what's up with Cronenberg Kid, okay? Can we get that? I'd be super happy with that. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Later.